Cher is one of the world's most iconic pop stars, but away from music, she's turned her attention to saving animals from cruel conditions in captivity.
Yes, Cher successfully rescued an Asian elephant named Kaavan from awful living conditions in a zoo in Pakistan, and there are other elephants and animals she wants to help. I'm going to speak exclusively to Cher in just a moment, and also to the others who made it possible.
Cher joins us now live from Malibu. In the studio, we've got Mark and Sagan Cowne from Cher's charity, Free the World. Cher, thank you so much for staying up late for us in California to speak to us and to share this amazing story. Just to start with how this happened, you've been involved in so many important causes over so many years. You've done so many great things to help others. What was it about Kaavan, this elephant, which led to you travelling halfway around the world to help him? Why did this happen?
Well, because I didn't mean to do it, but all of a sudden in my Twitter feed, I kept getting these things that save Kaavan. And then when I found out that, you know, where he was and what was happening and all that, I just thought, I can't do this. I'm just an entertainer. You know, I'm just a singer. And well, I'm more than a singer, but I'm just an entertainer. And I just said, I can't, you know, so I ignored it. To tell you the truth, I just thought, it'll go away, but it didn't. So then I remembered that when I was in Qatar, I rode back from this place where we were invited to dinner, and I rode back with this man that I'd never met before, but we were talking about elephants, and Mark had saved, I don't know, hundreds of elephants. So years later, when I had, you know, when I was trying to rack my brain to think, what can I do and who do I know, and I don't know anybody, I remembered Mark. So I called him and I said, hi, I don't know if you remember me, but we traveled, remember, you were supposed to be in the car with someone else, but then you got me, and we talked about elephants, and this is my problem. And then he said, okay, I'll get a ticket. And he went there right away.
Gosh, amazing. And you, I mean, as you said, you are, I mean, to say you're just a singer, I mean, 6 decades of top hits, kind of globally renowned, you know, 500 million hits on
Okay,
Spotify.
I will say this in my defense.
Yeah.
I have an Oscar, so okay.
So
I'm not just a singer.
But you also sang to Kaavan. What was it like when you actually travelled and you were able to be there, that moment when he was kind of going to be free? How did it feel that day?
Well, when I first saw him, you saw him doing that swaying thing, right? Which is what elephants do when they're in distress or having a breakdown. So when I first saw him, I knew what was going on because, you know, because I know the signs. But he was so beautiful, and I sang to him really badly. But I was happy because it had taken us 5 years. So I had already had my pain years before that. When I saw him, I kept thinking, this is going to be so great.
Well, Cher, the man that you referred to, who you made that emergency call to, Mark Cowne, is here in the studio with us this morning, along with his son, Sagan, from Free the Wild. Mark, what were the conditions that Kaavan was being held in, which were causing this elephant so much distress and meant that he was named the world's loneliest elephant?
It's upsetting to think that he was seen as the world's loneliest elephant because he's one of the world's loneliest elephants. His conditions were appalling. He was being kept in a tin shed. He was chained up for 27 years. He had no water, he had no toys, he had nothing at all. He was just being kept really hostage. And the really distressing thing was, like Cher said, you see him rocking from side to side. That's a sign of an animal in distress, but unfortunately the people going to the zoo were all being told he's dancing. And he's not dancing at all, he's having a nervous breakdown.
Oh, that's Cher. I mean, you know, what a distressing thing to be told about that behaviour?
I already knew about it. I knew what it was, and I had seen, you know, a video of him, so I understood, and I didn't know how long or if he would change that behavior. But the night that we took him to the sanctuary, we went in and it was getting dark, but I went inside and there were pillars to keep him, you know, secure, and I could see his outline. And as he was walking around, he stood still for a second and did not move. There was no, I mean, he came out of stress so quickly. It was amazing. I mean, I'd never done this before, obviously, but to just watch him. So I walked in and just stood there inside the enclosure, see the pillars, and just watched him.
They say
and he was kind of, you know, there was a tire. And there was water, and he was unbelievable. He was fascinated, and he'd never seen trees.
Cher, they say that elephants never, ever forget, famously, never forget. When you saw him in that state, free and able to be relaxed, did he give you a wink? Do you think he recognised you?
No, because we'd only seen each other for 15 minutes in Islamabad. But if I went back, I would bet that he would know me.
Cher, I know you now want to turn your attention to...
And he has a girlfriend, too. He has a girlfriend. I have to mention this. He has a girlfriend.
Right.
No longer lonely.
Definitely never too late.
Cher, you want to turn your attention to an elephant closer to home, don't you, now?
Yes. I saved Kaavan because I couldn't save Billy, but I am not giving up because it's a crime. It's, you know... there are so many things, you know, people are suffering, but also you have to try to do everything. You have to keep all the balls in the air that you can, people and animals. But yes, it's really, really a shame because, especially elephants, I mean, there are other animals too, but elephants are such, their feelings are so apparent and so deep, and they're not supposed to be alone. You know, he had these marks on around his ankles because he had been chained for so long that they were just rubbed raw.
Sagan, Billy the elephant is in LA Zoo, a 38-year-old elephant, spent nearly his entire life in that zoo. As Cher says, she's tried to get Billy free. The zoo itself says we have complete confidence in the knowledge, skills and expertise of our entire animal care team, including those who care for our elephants. Should elephants be in zoos? And sometimes is it the best place for them if they've been there that long?
There is never a good time for an elephant to be in a zoo at all. But the biggest problem with Billy as well is that he is completely alone.
Yeah.
And elephants are some of the most social creatures on the planet. They completely rely on their communications with each other and their families. And something that a lot of people don't take into consideration with zoos in particular is that elephants actually do a lot of their communication through their feet. So when they rumble, that sound travels hundreds of kilometers through the ground, and other elephants, you know, across the country usually pick up on these things and then they communicate that way. But in a zoo, he's actually hearing all of the rumbles of traffic, of airplanes, of trucks, and that's essentially his only experience. So aside from the fact that he's entirely alone, he's being driven mad by all of the human sounds that he's experiencing on a daily basis.
There are no elephants in London Zoo. Do you think there should be no elephants in zoos around the world?
Absolutely. The only reason an elephant should ever be in captivity is if he's undergone or she has undergone some form of drastic injury where they need some kind of human intervention to get them back on their feet, and then they should be re-released.
Of course, London Zoo was the first zoo in the world.
Yeah, that is
aware of that. It was originally a research facility, and somebody had the idea of opening up to the public and commercialising it to help pay for the cost of the research. And at that stage, research on animals was probably quite important. But we've done all that now.
Yeah. Cher, what impact does the captivity of these animals have on you emotionally?
Well, I can't even go into it. You know, it's impossible to bear. And, you know, Kaavan, it took us so long, and I was afraid that something was going to happen to him because Billy has got a problem in his feet, and elephants' feet are very tender, and he's on stuff that he walks on something that's like concrete. So, and they die from this disease. It's not like, you know, oh, I have a sore toe. So, yes, they can die from this disease. And I'm sorry, I just don't trust them, you know? What are they going to say? No, we don't take good care of the elephants, and we don't listen to what people say, and we don't hear all the experiences that we gave them, that we give them, that everyone in the world has, you know? And they don't release, sometimes they don't release all of the information, so it's very, very difficult.
Yeah. Mark, how many elephants are still in captivity at zoos across the world?
Thousands. You know? Thousands. It's remarkable, and they are the biggest draw card always to the zoo.
Are they?
People,
so then, basically, they're banking money.
They are. There's an awful lot of zoos which are still doing elephant rides and things, and those elephants are absolutely tortured into submission to allow people to do things like that. And the tourists go along and ride on these animals, which, of course, is why we've got the bill being considered now tomorrow to try and prevent tourism to animals which are being damaged. But it's dreadful what these animals go through for our entertainment.
Also, can I just say something, Mark? Yeah. Mark, you know, in order to break these animals, they hog tie them, they put them in small little bamboo cages, and they beat them until they're broken. And then you're able to ride them, because then they're terrified not to do anything the mood says.
Cher, it's a distressing topic, and it feels like something from a sort of antiquated world in a way when we talk about it, elephants in captivity. I know that you're doing your absolute utmost to try and free them. We're going to talk to you in a couple of minutes about other parts of your life, about your memoir, which is your writing, and also about new music. Thank you so much for staying with us. And to Mark and Sagan, thank you.
Thank you very much.
For being with us as well to talk about this. And good luck.